Oh,
Bingo.
yeah.
Second in. Live it in color. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to what is about to be a shit show of an event. Something that I've been looking forward to for a while now. We are all here. We're going to go ahead and get these banners off because this is the one and only Bottom Line Podcast. I am the host of this podcast, joined by venerable guests, starting with my man all the way from New Jersey. We got Eli Milligan.
Hello.
Mr. Dave Gettleman Sr. How are you tonight, man? You just get off work?
Yeah, just finished work and grinding out the night.
Grinding out the night. We go. Mr. Corey Paul joins me from are you in Grand Rapids right now?
Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Grand Rapids, Michigan.
How you guys doing? Yeah. Ready for football, man.
If it ever comes.
We're all ready to get going here, and we all have a lot to do and a lot to say. 32 picks in this mock first round, and it's going to be a fun one. So let's go ahead and go over how this works. There will be no trades in this mock draft, so we're going to run it 1 to 32. We know that this is going to be botched by what, like pick 3? Seems like Detroit's going to trade down out of 3. We'll go ahead and analyze every single pick as they come in, every single move, every single dart and dash, because obviously we do have some biased people in here. However, also joining us will be Mr. Tino Vergiels. Mr. Tino Vergiels is just a little late to the party. However, we move on. All right, so as I try to get us all on the screen here, I don't know where Corey went. All three of us are ready to go, waiting on. There he is at the last moment. Mr. Tino Vergiels. How are you, buddy?
Not audio's off. He's muted.
You are muted, my friend.
Will unmute myself.
There we go.
What's going on?
Not much. Just trying to fight through yelling children, but I think we'll be good.
Trying to fight through yelling children in what is, as I said, about to be a spontaneous event. You can mute your mic, though, while ever you are not talking, my man.
Yes, sir. Will do.
I appreciate you very much. And as we get ready to move forward, let's go ahead and announce who is going to be picking for who. As I grab my trusty little list, obviously starting with the number 1 overall pick will be the man shown in your screen right now, Mr. Corey Paul. Corey Paul will be picking for the Bengals, the Ravens, the Browns, the Lions, Packers, Vikings, and Seahawks. Mr. Dave Gettleman Sr. right here all the way from New Jersey. Eli Milligan obviously is going to be making picks for his New York Giants, the Washington Redskins, Dallas Cowboys, Philadelphia Eagles, the New England Patriots, and he will be making all 3 selections for the Miami Dolphins.
Hope to quarterback for the Patriots.
That's what we were kind of just talking about, my man. We were just getting ready to get into that. But however, we'll go right back to your shining face, Mr. Vergiels. The Denver Broncos, Las Vegas Raiders. It's going to be hard to get used to that. San
Breaking
Francisco,
news tonight talking about we might trade up, eh?
something around that nature. The Las Vegas Raiders, the Arizona Cardinals, along with the Chargers, the Chiefs, and then myself, I'll be making picks for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Carolina Panthers, the Atlanta Falcons, my San Francisco 49ers, both at 13 and 31, Tennessee Titans, New York Jets, and the New Orleans Saints. Without further ado, we will go ahead and put Mr. Corey Paul on the clock and make it very brief and simple.
Oh, we get music?
We're getting the chimes in there, my man. I think we all know who's going number 1 here. Go ahead, Mr. Corey Paul, with the first pick.
Well, it's awesome because I'm a Cincinnati fan, and we're going to get Joe Burrow at number 1. He had a great season last year, won the championship, probably the best college season ever, in my mind, but that's debatable.
So Corey Paul goes. So Corey Paul goes with number 1, the absolute phenom that was Joe Burrow. I think some of us have some type of issue to go with maybe putting him in the conversation of greatest college season ever. I know I'm not alone in this chat by thinking Cam Newton's year at Auburn may supplant that, but that's an argument you could have all day. Corey Paul, if there was a team trading up to number 1, and obviously in this mock draft there's not going to be, what would it possibly take for the Bengals to possibly trade out? Like, do you think that there's any scenario that happens, or what do you think it would take?
I think it would have to be at least 2 of the Dolphins' first-round picks. Probably all 3, but I think since he's pretty set, I'm taking Burrow.
So we have Mr. Joe Burrow going number 1. And there it is on the board right there. We move along to pick number 2. Mr. Dave Gettleman Sr. is going to be picking for the Washington Redskins. So, my man, go ahead and do the honors for us.
I don't think this one's any surprise. But it's going to be Chase Young going second. Giants blew their chance here, but it is what it is.
Is he the best? Is he the best player on your board?
Yeah, he's number 1 for me. I mean, I think Burrow's awesome, but there's been proven that there's just no shortage of quarterbacks around the league if you have the correct team around them, like you saw what Tannehill did this year. So I think if you can get like a game-changing end like that,
is that shots at Tannehill?
It's not a shot. No, it's praise to him. It's that like there are plenty of good quarterbacks out there. It's just you have to have the correct team around them to win.
You have to have some sort of support system in there as well. And with a team like this, the Washington Redskins really could make a giant splash on the defensive side of the ball, particularly. You look at the front 7, you throw this is not a need by way of pick. I think we can all agree on the fact that, or a pick by way of need, as I completely went dyslexic right there. You don't necessarily see, though, very often teams pick by need at number 2. It is almost always the best player available, and that's the route I believe the Washington Redskins are going. Any chance, my man, Eli, if you were taking trades right now, what would it take to get Washington to hop out of 2 for a team that may desperately want, a Mr. Hawaiian pulling the strings?
I mean, realistically, for number 2, it's not a quarterback. So you'd imagine it would have to take like a top 10 pick this year, and then probably it's going to take 2 picks minimum, but it'd probably have to be a top 10 pick this year and then another pick next year. In all reality,
I would probably agree with that.
So I think the only scenario where you saw 3 go off the board for number 2 was with Washington and when they drafted RG3, and it was because it was for RG3, and or even Carson Wentz. What was it? 2 first rounds for Carson Wentz at 2?
It was 2 first rounds, I think, in a second or a third, somewhere around there. So we move on to pick number 3. This goes right back to Corey Paul again.
I think, especially on defense, after this pick, it falls off a lot on talent. It's going to go to Okudah from Ohio State.
How far do you see that fall, Corey? You make an interesting comment there. As far as like the defensive side of the ball is concerned in this draft, how far is the drop from Okudah to the next best defensive player? I disagree with you because you and I both think there's a damn talented player on the board right here where this thing's just about to get ready to get interesting.
I mean, Okudah and Simmons are, other than Chase Young, are the 2 best players.
Do you put a cornerback above like a linebacker, especially when you have a team who just traded their number 1?
I mean, I think personally the Lions need both.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised if for some reason they blow our minds and do a crazy trade, even though nobody's predicting it. Or not a trade. They take Simmons. Nobody's predicting it, but I'm thinking Okudah for him. I think other than those 2 players, it falls off hard after that.
I see absolutely no way the Lions actually pick at 3.
That's a good point that you raise, my man.
I see absolutely
That's a good point you raise. It's a good point you raised because I agree with you. I don't think there's any way Detroit makes this pick in real life. I think they're going to move down, and they could probably get their guy at like 6 or 7 as far as Okudah is concerned. Because Okudah is – we talked about this in this week's group chat that we had of us 4. Okudah is the best defensive back in this draft. I don't think there's any question about it. You want to know something crazy about Jeff Okudah? Jeff Okudah – put this in your mind for a second. No penalties this past year at Ohio State. Not a single PI call, not a single holding call, not a single pair of
game. We all know that's bullshit.
Which not a single pair of yellow laundry ended up on the field Okudah's way. Who do I think would trade up? I think the Dolphins are obviously in the conversation. The Chargers.
Realistically, it comes down to do you want Tua or Herbert right now? And like, if the Chargers stay where they're at, they're going to get the latter.
Tua or who?
Tua or Herbert is. I'm not a Herbert person, but
Let's not spoil the Herbert talk. Tino, hold up, Tino. Go ahead, and make that face one more time. Go ahead, and do Dude, I think I'm different from a couple of you guys in terms of your opinion on Herbert, but I think Herbert's ceiling is pretty damn high, man. I loved his arm strength. I loved his poise in the pocket, and obviously his ability to get out. Now, here's the problem with Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert, that's a problem in and of itself. How about the fact he's never left the state of Oregon? He's never left the state of Oregon, dude.
Who's the last good Oregon quarterback?
Well, Mariota had a great rookie year. You could say maybe a good couple of first years, but
I'm going to go with Jeremiah Masoli.
We're talking so much about these quarterbacks, but we got to get to another pick right here with pick number 4. Bum, 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 bum. We're back to Gettleman Sr., who's picking for the New York Giants in a pick that could easily tip the scales. Go ahead, Mr. Milligan. Who are you making at number 4 for the Giants?
This is like such a hard pick. I'm going to be honest with you because
there's one choice here.
There is one choice.
I think so.
But is it the right choice? And that's where I'm at because dude, the pick that I think Gettleman takes here is Willis. But the pick that I think is the right pick is Tristan Wirfs, Mila.
Tristan Wirfs.
In reality, like the Giants, the Giants actually the last freaking 10 years has been the offensive line. And that's why they went out and paid all that money for Logan Mankins for to stink up the place. As much as I love Simmons and I've been screaming to get a great linebacker on the Giants for years. You can't invest all your chips in two blue chip, a running back as well as a quarterback at that point who have to play behind the line without investing in the line. And I think that's just the right move long term. But I don't think it's the move he makes.
It's like I said, it's a pick that's going to send the dominoes beginning to tip. And it's whether or not they go Isaiah Simmons. If I were sitting here, and to be honest with you, my man, you are the Giants fan, so I don't know how much you have read up on this or not. However, I do think that Simmons is the pick here. I know, Tino, you said that you believe there's only one pick to make here. Tino, would you have gone differently with this selection if you were sitting in the seat that Eli Milligan is?
Yeah, I'm going Simmons every time, man. I mean, watching him throughout the season, especially. Chill.
I'll take that from there. I think Isaiah Simmons is the pick here as well. And I think Isaiah Simmons is a transcendiary player in this draft. I mean, the number one question people have had about him coming into this process has simply been, what position does he play? If that's the number one question coming into you as a defensive prospect, that's what I'm saying, dude. It's an absolutely fantastic question to have about you. Over 200 snaps at the outside linebacker position, like around that 200 snap hover range at the safety position. He even played in the slot at the corner position for a while. This is a dude that can come in and change your defense right away. And shoring up the line with Tristan Wirfs obviously doesn't hurt either. However, I digress. We move on. The number 5 pick in the draft is the first of 3 first-round picks in the first round. Pick number 5, pick number 18, and pick number 26. 18 by virtue of Pittsburgh, 26 by virtue of Houston, goes right back to Mr. Dave Gettleman Sr. And Mr. Dave Gettleman Sr. has a decision to make here, not based on what he's heard. If you've read a Mel Kiper mock draft, it's based on what he's heard, not based on what he thinks. However, the Miami Dolphins are on the clock here, and it is not me. Let me get my ugly face out of here. It's Mr. Eli Milligan once again with the selection.
So I don't think they play it safe. I think I really, really like Flores, and I think like his ceiling as a coach is massive. And I think they go Tua. I think it's a high risk play, but it's got the biggest reward out of any other quarterback in the draft.
So talk about this for a second. It's easy for us to make this pick, Eli, and I'll go ahead and give you the question. Is it easier for you to pick Tua here at number 5 because of the fact that you are not sitting in the seat that the Miami Dolphins are, And because you don't have to study the medicals, you don't have to make a judgment on whether or not he's going to get hurt in 2 years. That's not your call to make. Was it easier for you to take Tua here because of the fact you're sitting in your chair and the Miami front office is sitting in theirs?
I think Miami is invested long-term into both Flores and the team, given the way they stripped the roster down.
And by the way, I love Brian Flores as a head coach too. There were people whenever he, McDaniels, Matt Patricia, and Joe Judge, who are now all head coaches outside of McDaniels, obviously, but was very close to becoming a head coach. There were people that said all over the place in the New England building that Brian Flores was the best potential future head coach on that coaching staff. And I think winning 5 games with that team, incredible. So I agree with you on the Brian Flores thing. Go ahead and take it away with the rest of your point.
I just think they're invested in the future, and in reality, it's Tua really gives them. The other thing too is it's not like he's a run-first quarterback. He runs out of necessity. He can throw the ball.
Yeah,
and a hip injury is scary, but I think he is spectacular. And just watching what he did the last 2 years it's hard to put that away and say, yeah.
Let me go ahead.
Number 5 on Herbert.
Let me go ahead, though, and debunk a myth for you guys, okay, though? As I take Tua off this board, let me go ahead and debunk a myth, and especially one by my favorite radio host, guilty of his pleasure, Colin Cowherd, who constantly brings up the fact, Tino, say that one more time.
You're still muted. I'm absolutely with you.
No, but here's
he's the worst.
No.
Colin, dude.
Americans aren't smart.
I like Cowherd, dude, but like here's the thing. You can't ditch the narrative of something if you alter and edit the bottom line of the narrative. Clever plug on my podcast right there with the name. You can't alter the narrative the way you want it without giving the bottom line of the details. And he just constantly says, oh my God, Tua Tagovailoa has just played so well against top competition and SEC competition. You want to know what his numbers are against Georgia and Clemson in comparison to numbers against everybody else? They're not good. They're not great. Like, they really aren't. If you take a look at the numbers in comparison just against Clemson and Georgia, his quarterback rating dips almost 40 points. But I get that, but you can't just constantly say he looked fantastic against stellar competition when against the best competition he didn't.
You're going to look at, his numbers are great. You're looking at the win-loss column, and at the end of the day, you're playing those two competitions. You get at least 50% of those games.
And touchdown to interception ratio was 32-5, and rightfully so. I'm not knocking Tua in that way. I'm just trying to bring up a point that's kind of a false narrative. Like, yeah, he looked good against LSU this year, but against Clemson and Georgia is when he played his worst games. Tino, go with that once again.
As I was talking to my son, don't worry. As most people should play their worst game against that competition, though.
But you're right, and that's exactly my point, is that you're going to play those type of games against competition. Just don't go out and say and float around to everybody that he dominated everyone in the same fashion in every game, because it's not true.
I mean, but even the LSU game this past year where they say, he looked ugly. He fumbled the ball, which was really costing the game, quote unquote. I mean, dude threw for over 300 yards and had 4 touchdowns. So, it was his worst game of the year, and he dominated coming off an injury. Dude's a stud, man. And as a Chargers right now, next pick, we're pissed if he's gone right now.
Ultimately, I agree with you, dude.
Right there.
Ultimately, I agree with you, and I think he lands a little bit higher. But we're going to go ahead and move it along with this man's first pick of the night. The number 6 pick of the night, the Los Angeles Chargers.
Yeah, and we're going to take the easy, safe pick. It's not the sexy pick, but we're going to take Makai. I think it's Becton. I think it's called. It might be Beacon, but who knows at this point, really. About O-line. But we're going to take the safe pick and, protect our quarterback. We're going to plan for next year, and hopefully we can get, Tua or Justin Fields next year or whatever. But play this year, protect the O-line, win on defense right now. Let Bosa, we get I don't even fucking care. The safety back from injury. We have
Derwin James, my man. Derwin James.
But you knew what I was talking about. See, we're on the same page.
Yeah, we are. We are.
So
and
we play the safe year. We rock it out with freaking
Tyrod Taylor.
I should tell you, with that pick, you really fucked my
is
draft.
Tyrod Taylor the long-term answer, though? Is Tyrod Taylor going to be the long-term answer? No.
Rock it out for 1 year. You plan the draft next year.
I mean, with the tools that they have, no matter who plays quarterback, they're going to be in the teens.
You're going to get 7 to 10 wins.
They're going to be in the teens next year for the draft. So it's not like they're playing for Trevor Lawrence here.
Yeah, you're going to get 7 to 10 wins this year regardless, no matter who you pick right here. It doesn't really change your season too much, but it helps you. One, you get an O-line, which puts you in play not only for free agency next year, but you're in the draft pick next year as well.
No, I agree. And however, we can get into a whole nother conversation in and of itself when it comes to Trevor Lawrence. But I cannot believe here, as I step up to the podium for the first time, that I've been given a dilemma with this pick. Let me just say, going into number 7, this pick was an easy one for me that I rehearsed multiple times because I thought about it ad nauseum, being that it was the first time I was going to be on the board. However, you guys have gifted me with something, okay? You guys have gifted me with the ability of even re-upping on those thoughts, because with the 6th pick in the bottom line mock draft, the Carolina Panthers are oh so happy to bring into their facility my man, Isaiah Simmons from Clemson. I don't know how Isaiah Simmons is going to fall to here. I think, in my opinion, he's going to go at 4. And I think that the New York Giants would love to have his services. However, right here, this is an easy pick for me. Derek Brown would have been the pick for me out of Auburn, the defensive tackle, and it's going to be very interesting to see how long he's going to last now that we're past the Carolina Panthers and he's still on the board. However, holy lucky stars, I will get my man Isaiah, and we will continue to trudge along now with the 8th pick in the draft.
I mean, but for a second, can we talk about how happy would Carolina be if they can replace Luke Kuechly with Simmons off rip like that? I mean, my goodness, talk about a dream scenario for them.
That's what I'm saying, my man. And you raise a good point. Go ahead.
Can I show something really quick? I want to show you why they should not go for Simmons. This
Are you talking about the Giants?
The Giants, yes. All right, let's watch this clip for a quick second. Look at the amount of penetration they're getting 2 seconds in. And this isn't like we're not.
This is Jamal Adams taking it to the house.
We're not sitting here watching like a crazy team. Like we're watching the New York Jets against the Giants. And
the Jets were one of the best defenses in the league. I want to hear that though.
Oh my gosh.
You had 8 guys behind the line of scrimmage immediately.
Fair enough.
And Tristan Wirfs will be a guy that can, go ahead and get that thing done, right?
And do whatever the O-line people do, right?
And there's so many O-linemen in this draft.
There are.
There's a lot.
Yeah, I mean,
there's only 4 at the top. There's only 4 at the top.
Coming off at 9, I mean, I don't think there's any way Arizona doesn't go O-line. We're gonna take Jedrick Wills out of Bama at tackle. I mean, you got to protect Kyler at this point in time. I mean, you already got your receiver. You don't need to, reach for a receiver right now. You got to protect it. You got to build up that O-line, put him in there.
And this is a pick that really works for the Arizona Cardinals because what they're going to do is kick DJ Humphries over to the left side, or at least from what I've read, they're going to kick DJ Humphries over to the left side. And Jedrick Wills is a perfect fitting right tackle that they can plug in and play right away. Kyler, let me just go ahead and say this to y'all as well. I don't know if y'all are ready for it. I'm not saying he's going to take a Lamar Jackson type of leap, but Kyler Murray is going to break out next season, especially if he's got
Kyler. I love
Kyler
this game.
Murray.
I love that offense. I love they brought DeAndre over. I mean, he has a chance to.
It's hard not to throw at DeAndre Hopkins.
I'm going to go one by one here. I'm going to go one by one. Starting with myself, I would take Kyler Murray over Baker Mayfield, and trust me, I've watched a lot of Oklahoma games. And Mr. Eli, what do you think? Kyler or Baker Mayfield for the future of your team?
You just kind of watch it. I mean, like it was pretty clear this year that one quarterback was afraid to throw the ball and the other wasn't.
That's what I'm saying. And the other had 46 times he was taken to the ground, 46 sacks.
That's Aaron Rodgers numbers.
What do you think? Baker or Kyler Murray for your future?
I like Baker better, and I mean, I like Baker better for one reason because of his weapons he has. So I know that can be temporary, but I don't know. He shuffled coaches. Look at his first year compared to his second year. I like Baker. look at him in college. He has potential. I like him better than Kyler. I think he'll last longer than Kyler. I mean, I don't know. It's hard. Kyler's sort of a scrambler, and he'll take more hits. So I don't know if Baker protects himself. I think he'll last way longer than Kyler.
I think the one clip or play that comes up Baker though is that one where I think it was Thursday night game last year where they're at the 5-yard line and that middle just opened up wide open and he stood there and threw the ball away.
I honestly think I agree. Like I think Baker needs to see a medium because he sees ghosts.
Yep.
Like, I see ghosts. I love
he
it.
Does. He does see ghosts. He just looks around and he's nonsense.
They need to stop shuffling all their coaches and shuffling everything.
I mean, he had Freddie Kitchens for what, like a season and a half?
Bro, he didn't have him for a season and a half as like the full-time head coach.
But he was
the OC before, wasn't he?
Like Williams.
Yeah, and he was calling plays.
Really, he had him for 2 years.
Greg Williams,
he did.
He's the coach. He's not going to sit there and tell Freddie Kitchens what to do on offense.
But yeah, I called the hire. I got to say, I called the hire, like the Stefanski hire. That was one of my best predictions of the year. And I think that there is a way that Kevin Stefanski can see something out of what he can bring out of Baker Mayfield. I don't think that was a whole lot of smoke. I do think it was a whole lot of fire. And however, that just makes my point. Kyler Murray's better. Kyler throws a better deep ball. Kyler's more mobile. There's a reason why when Baker was suspended for a year or for a game at Oklahoma for a quarter, very first play, Kyler Murray comes out. Very first play of the game against West Virginia 2 seasons ago. Okay, my name's Kyler Murray. I'm going to come out here and just replace Baker Mayfield. 77-yard touchdown. All right, here you go, Baker. Go ahead, take over the rest of the game. That is literally his introduction to Oklahoma fans while he didn't think he was going to have to sit out a year anyway. Bottom line is I love this pick from Tino. He's my number 2 tackle. Mekhi Becton is my number 1 tackle. However, we do go back to Tino because he's going to be on the clock now with the Jacksonville Jaguars selection. You're going to have to unmute yourself, though, my man.
Yep, I said 1 second. And as a Jaguar fan, we would be ecstatic. I didn't have my board. I didn't expect him to last as long.
Yeah.
But if we can get Derek Brown out of Auburn right here, absolutely ecstatic to build up that D-line, to secure our future up front in the trenches. I mean, it'd be unbelievable. Really, our number 1 choice was Okudah, but obviously he's long gone at this point. So we're going to take that D-line and build it up.
So let's talk about this pick here. Like I said, he was going to be my guy at 7 for the Panthers. And there's no way I see him falling past 9, especially if he's going to be on the board here. Derek Brown is – so there's another guy I like as an interior defensive lineman. Clearly Chase Young, the best edge rusher in this draft. Clearly Derek Brown, the best interior player. I wouldn't say – so far clear, definitely not clearly ahead of who I have at number 2 at this position in comparison to how far I have Chase Young ahead of number 2 at the edge position. However, I agree with Tino here. While I don't think Brown in real life will drop here, and it's the domino effect of Isaiah Simmons, man. The Panthers have no choice but to take the best defense player on the board at 7, and the Jaguars have no choice but to take the best player on the board here as well.
I had Kinlaw here as a backup to Okudah. But
so,
like I said, if Brown's going to drop here, I mean, we're going to take him every time.
I honestly didn't think that Simmons was going to go past 3, so I really didn't account for that. But
what do you mean not go past 3? Did you think the Lions were going to take him?
I mean, in this scenario, I think I just didn't think they valued cornerbacks.
I don't know.
No, they need to replace Darius Slay, I think.
They do, but I mean, cornerbacks come every year, and they're not getting any better. So, I would have gone linebacker because you don't see too many people play like Simmons.
Oh, you're right. And I feel that. However, we must move along with the team that I would imagine many people that are watching this. I just want to say, if you guys are watching the watch count, we've been steady moving along between 2 to 7 to 8 listeners at a time per sequence or whatever you want to call it. We appreciate everybody that's listening in on this podcast while I can go ahead and drop the next pick, which is going to be one that is of local interest. And Corey Paul is back on the clock for number 10 for the Cleveland Browns. I think the position here is obvious. Mr. Paul, who are you making with the 10th selection?
You might disagree with me. We were just talking about Baker a second ago. and how he sees ghosts and all this other stuff, and we need to preserve him. I'm going O-line again, so we're going to have, I believe that's 3 O-line in the top 10. Andrew Thomas, Georgia. You disagree? That's who I'm taking, but
I think that yes, you've got to go with Andrew Thomas here, especially at 10 for the Cleveland Browns, who are going to need a tackle regardless. And remember, Corey, I think you and I had this conversation multiple times. Months ago, Andrew Thomas was the best tackle on this board. He fell, and the best tackle in the draft went to our man, Mr. Tino Vergiels. In my opinion, the best tackle on this board is Mekhi Becton, and I think Mekhi Becton is going to be the best tackle in the NFL. In the NFL out of these picks. Not the best tackle in the NFL, but the best tackle in the NFL out of these picks. I do think Jedrick Wills comes in and makes the transition immediately, and I think he makes the transition the most smoothly because he's going to be kicked to the right side where he naturally played, protecting Tua Tagovailoa's backside at Alabama. But Andrew Thomas is a guy that was easily the best tackle on this board for quite some time and is not going to pan out that way, or at least from the projections that we see. We move on, and we move back to your boy at pick 11, and it's going to be the New York Jets. And let me just say something right here. I think that the New York Jets desperately need an offensive lineman, and I think that if they can take an offensive lineman, they're going to take one right here. However, while their counterparts across practice facility or whatever you want to call it, even though they share the same stadium, we're going to be seeing a couple of Alabama guys go to the same city because with the 11th pick in the draft, it's very close as far as the wide receiver position is concerned at the top of the board. However, the New York Jets are going to go ahead and grab Mr. Jerry Jeudy, who is the number 1 wide receiver on my board. Now, CeeDee Lamb, Tino, you make a face. Hold up. Let's go ahead and – yeah. Did you expect me to take CeeDee Lamb?
I did not, sir. I did not expect to take a receiver.
What? It's either going to be offensive tackle or wide receiver. What other position do they need? Edge rusher?
Dude, the Jets need everybody.
No, they really need I don't necessarily agree with everybody. But they're not going to replace Le'Veon Bell. They don't need a safety. I don't think necessarily they need a corner. Safety right now is obviously their best position. Jamal Adams is the best player on that team. I think we can all agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
But at wide receiver, you lose Robbie Anderson to free agency. Quincy Enunwa has been disgruntled for God knows how long.
To be honest, I wasn't prepared for it. I wasn't prepared for that.
You weren't prepared for them to take a wide receiver.
I was not.
Robbie Anderson's their number 1, and he almost left this season.
He did leave. He signed with Carolina.
I thought they re-signed him.
No, he signed with Carolina.
Oh, wow.
And everything you're saying does make sense, and I'm with you. But it did not cross my mind. I expected a receiver to go off at 13, 14, and 15.
No, dude.
My numbers are off, but
no, dude.
Vegas, San Fran, Denver. That's where I expected the big 3 to go off of. So that just
Davidson, why Jerry Jeudy over the other ones?
I'm going with Jerry Jeudy. I'm going with Jerry Jeudy based solely off of the fact that he's the most complete receiver in this draft. He lost some steam, I think, from the last time, Corey, you and I talked, of when I said he's the best receiver in this draft since Julio Jones. I've kind of backtracked it a little bit. He's not Calvin Johnson, and he's not Julio Jones.
He's not fucking Calvin.
No one is Calvin. No one is Calvin at all.
Yeah.
I can't take that call, buddy. I'm sorry. No one is Calvin Johnson as far as a wide. I think Calvin Johnson is the most equipped receiver to succeed in the NFL I think I've ever seen in my life. And Jerry Jeudy is not that. But I digress. We move along to the 12th pick in the draft, which is owned by the Las Vegas Raiders and Mr. Tino Vergiels. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I mean, we're a little thrown off, but not much because our choice hasn't changed at all. I'll make sure I'm on mute, right? Yeah. So our choice didn't change. We're still going to go receiver. We're going to go CD Lamb right now. We're a little upset at this point that Judy's gone because I put him as number one receiver as well. But either way, we're going to take a receiver. We're going to take a deep threat. We're going to take somebody who's going to really separate the defense, who we thought Antonio Brown was going to be last year. But, it doesn't matter which name that is of the three. So that's where we're trying to get Derek Carr some help, even though he's gone.
So that's how you feel, Tino. You think Derek Carr is buns?
I do think he's buns.
I agree. I think he's awful.
I think, See, awful. I think awful is worse than buns. But yeah, I think they will. I mean, whether it's this summer, next summer, or the year after, they're gonna let him go in his prime, which is, I mean, that tells you all you need to know.
Derek Carr is kind of a conundrum, not in the similar fashion that like a Jameis Winston is, but
See, I love Jameis.
I'm with you. I think James is also. I'm upset that he's not on a team.
Awkward for calling Derek Carr buns, but I really do like Jameis.
I like Jameis too. It's just got to be the right fit, and I honestly think Tampa Bay gave up on him 1 year early. Now, is it okay for Brady? That's you took the words out of my mouth, and that's exactly what I think they did. And on top of that, that's exactly the route I think they should have gone. Tino, you have a comment about that pick? Because, I mean, the Buccaneers are getting ready to be on the clock here in a moment.
Yeah, I mean, if you can, I would drop all first 5-round picks if I can grab Brady. So if you're just dropping Jameis Winston, I mean, that's an easy decision.
But I just feel like the narrative that, like, he's not good. Like, it's crazy that, like, even the Chargers didn't take a risk on him because it's like, look, I get it. He threw a lot of picks, but you don't throw for 5,000 yards because you're bad.
Well, they literally said
right, and that's exactly what the conundrum is. Like, you don't go ahead, Tino. Go ahead.
No, you're good. They literally just told him to sling it. Like I said, that's what he came out and said. Like, they just told me to throw the ball. I mean, it is what it is. Their defense was decent enough to cover up really most of them. So at that point, if you know your defense can get you to 7, 8, 9 wins, you're gonna take some chances.
I agree. I just think it's wild to run the narrative that the narrative is that he's not good or he's not smart enough. Like, dude, he threw for 5,000 yards. He was seeing stuff. Like, you don't even the worst quarterbacks who have awful interception ratios. Yeah, they're out there, but they're not throwing for 5,000 yards.
No, they're not. And as I already kind of tipped my hand, I'm back on the clock for the 13th selection. And the 13th selection is going to be Mr. Henry Ruggs III from the University of Alabama. We are back on the University of Alabama bandwagon with the 13th pick. And that is exactly where Henry Ruggs III will go if Judy and Lamb are off the board here now. I think the 49ers would favor Lamb or Judy just based off of what their offense is going to mean and what their offense is going to need. What their offense is going to need is obviously, Emmanuel Sanders signs with the New Orleans Saints. Okay, so what that opens up is obviously a need at wide receiver. And a number one wide receiver is not maybe a Henry Ruggs. I really think Deebo Samuel steps up and potentially takes over as a very solid option as the number one wide receiver. Ridiculous yard after the catch ability. But Henry Ruggs, I mean, there's a reason why whenever a guy runs a 4.28 and is pissed, like Henry Ruggs was, he's a weapon. And Kyle Shanahan loves nothing more than weapons. The number 13 selection in the draft is going to be Henry Ruggs III. And with that,
can I ask you something, Baker?
Yeah, go ahead, my man.
So I get it, but I think Debo's great, and he's like I think the Patriots should have took Debo last year. I think it's wild that they didn't, but I can't. I'm gonna put a defense like a defensive end, defensive tackle ahead of wide receiver in terms of value. Like I'm shocked you didn't go Kinlaw.
No, and Kinlaw would have been the guy.
Like you gave up like DeForest Buckner, which is a massive part of the defense.
Yeah, I agree with you. And Kinlaw could be the guy here, and I wouldn't be upset with that as a Niners fan. However, I digress.
I mean, as a Bronco fan, we're pissed right now. We see them go 1, 2, 3 like that. Those receivers, we're pissed.
No doubt about it, man.
There's no way we don't trade up, especially after that first one goes to the Jets early. We're not expecting that. There's no doubt we trade up.
No, and this pick right here becomes very interesting because now the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are on the clock. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are being selected by myself. And what are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now, guys? Like, offensive tackle, yes, but the top 4 are off the board. So let me go ahead and ask the 3 of you before I reveal what I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to go ahead and do. What would you go at pick number 14 now that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have no ability to take an offensive tackle? And obviously they don't need a wide receiver. I'm not drafting a running back at 14. No tackle is going to be worth this pick. Anybody have an idea of what position they might need to go ahead and alter?
I mean,
corner or safety.
I was leaning towards DB. So yeah, either one of those. There's a good one on the board.
To be honest,
any of them.
If I had to take a pick right now, and he's fallen farther than this pick on all the mocks, but last year he was debatably a top 5 pick. If he would have went out, Grant Delpit.
So I like Delpit a lot. I really do. He's not the pick here, though. Mr. Henderson is going to be the pick here. CJ Henderson, a guy that, I even saw on some, for the sake of argument, I don't agree with this at all. But on some boards, the number 1 corner in the draft, I don't think he's better than Okudah, but I think that he's the guy here that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to pick. I think the pick after this, as we continue to go down the Tino and Davidson revolver, the 15th pick belongs to the Denver Broncos, and it hits close to home because the man selecting for the Denver Broncos is a diehard fan of the Denver Broncos.
Super Bowl 50, baby, Super Bowl 50.
Go ahead and make the selection at number 15.
Backtrack for a second. Now, I think Tampa Bay, I think things are a little skewed because that Giants pick earlier, taking worse and not Simmons, that kind of screws the whole thing up. But I think one of those tackles are available for Tampa Bay if everything holds as we see. They are able to take one of those tackles. I don't think Carolina. I think it's just all a little bit skewed, like I said. And
right.
One of those tackles are going to be available for them.
So who is Denver taking right here at 15, my man?
So Denver, knowing Ruggs is off the board, which was my number 1 option for receiver here, we have 2 choices really. We can either go receiver, stick to Justin Jefferson, or we can make a big play in what I think is a big need for us and go what I'm going to pick right now is linebacker Patrick Queen out of LSU.
So Patrick Queen out of LSU is your selection. My man, why did you land on Patrick Queen? How higher do you have him above a guy like Kenneth Murray on your board?
I actually have Murray as one of my next picks if he lasts. So not too much higher. I do love Queen just because he kind of played better on a bigger stage for me. And obviously he fought through a little bit better competition to show how good he was. He didn't start at the beginning of the year, actually. He was actually 3rd string. So he fought through some battles and made his way to the top and then dominated on the biggest stage.
And he did play really well on the biggest stage. And Patrick Queen, even though does it worry you, though, Tino, them taking a guy that's only started really for 1 year?
To me, it doesn't because he did start that 1 year. And like I said, he dominated the 1 year. So it'd be all right if he started the 1 year and he was like, oh, yeah, he was a good starter. But he started, like I said, I mean, he led one of the – I think their numbers were 4th or 5th best defense in the nation.
Right.
They played very well. They did what I thought was really impossible and shut Trevor Lawrence down. So I don't have any kind of withdrawals or holding about him. And really that whole LSU defense, I have a couple other picks from LSU on my draft because I was really high on them in total.
I'm going to go ahead and make the 16th selection very fast because we got to take an intermission because your boys got to take a fat piss. I'm not even going to lie. We're already 15 picks through this thing. We're coming up on the halfway mark, and the Atlanta Falcons are on the clock. So I think it's very obvious that they're going to have to go defensively here, and Christian Fulton is going to be the selection here at number 16 for the Atlanta Falcons. Christian Fulton, a guy that I don't think is as high on draft boards as, say, a Henderson or obviously an Okuda, but a guy that was very highly productive in a position that churns out a lot of very good defensive backs in this league. And he can be seen as a guy that can step in and maybe play more productively right away than a guy like CJ Henderson. Back in a couple of minutes with the next pick, Mr. Eli Milligan will be on the clock, and we're going to go ahead and take a short break. I'll be back in just like about 2-3 minutes. And we're back. Needed to make that happen.
Yeah, I went to the bathroom too.
Bro, looks like they're both gone.
I'm
But
here.
okay, Corey's still here. I know Tino has a second before he gets back on the clock. And Mr. Eli Milligan is on the clock with the next pick. A pick for, I would say, obviously, quite the popular entity in the sports world. And a pick now that kind of rises above heavy intrigue with Henderson and Fulton coming off the board in back-to-back picks. You sound eager to make this selection, my man.
I actually did not have either of those going to the Cowboys. I think
make the selection.
Yeah, I think cornerback's a big need for the team, but I think the loss of DeMarcus Lawrence is looming in Jerry Jones' mind here, so he's got to go Kalavan Chasen from LSU. I think it's the right pick, and the guy's pretty insane. The way he gets off the line, it's what you want out of an edge rusher, especially in a division that's got a couple mobile quarterbacks. So you want to really bring it to them there. So Kalavan Chasen out of LSU going to the Cowboys. 3 LSU.
This is a steal. This is a steal, man. I really believe so. Corey, do you have anything to add about this pick?
I like Jason a lot. I believe I said his name right.
Clavon Chason.
Yeah, I mean, I like the pick a lot. That's all I got to say. They need to restructure their defense. They have to pay a lot of people, so I'm sure there'll be cuts next year. So
I cannot believe that there's obviously a player that has not been selected still.
I was trying to steal Chase on at 21, so that's a good pick.
We have come this far, and let's just say there's no way the draft actually shapes out this way because there's a quarterback that still needs to be taken. And now back on the clock is my man, Eli Milligan, who has a decision to make.
So I'm in kind of
17.
I'm in kind of a.
I didn't hear what you said because my son took my headphones out, but I agree.
Quarterback's still on the clock.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in kind of like a predicament right now because you look at Kinlaw still on the board, and I think he's a insane pick. But the Dolphins did load up on defense. I did have them taking, one of the 4 offensive tackles here.
Don't do it. You know who they would pick here at 18. But you're still on the board.
The pick is going to be Xavier McKinney because
no way.
he is not going to be there. He's not going to be there at 26. The Patriots will take him at 23. So
dude,
they have to.
They won't.
Yeah, they will.
I don't agree with that at all. However, that's the selection taken.
Who do you have them taking?
The Dolphins at this point should absolutely be taking Justin Herbert because they're going to be taking Justin Herbert at 5. And I know Tino immediately gets all grump face. Tino, go ahead and give everybody your opinion on Justin Herbert. The fact that Justin Herbert is here at 18 is just.
I like nothing about his life, to be honest. I like his fucking hair. I like his fucking arm throw in motion. I don't like anything about him as a quarterback to put him on my team.
They already took Tua.
And he already took Tua with him. So
who am I, Mike Shanahan?
Unbelievable. We move on. With the 19th pick in the draft, we go back to a team that's already selected here, the 9th pick in the draft.
Yeah, and I mean for them right now, Henderson would be the ideal pick.
There's no way he falls to 19 in my.
You don't think so?
No way.
I don't think he's that high, to be honest. So really, my next pick was going to be Ross Blacklock, but I mean,
Eli, you want to take over on that?
On the board is kind of outrageous. So
who's still on the board?
Is Kinlaw on the board? Did I miss something?
Yeah, he's still on the board.
He's on the board. That's what I thought. So the fact that he's still on the board right now is outrageous. So to me, that's an easy pick. Best available. We'll take that right now.
And I don't blame you at all. Kinlaw, to me, is one of the best players in this draft. I'm not even kidding. I have him. He's an absolute animal, and I have him ranked in the top 10.
Here, I can take over, Baker. I have 2 screens, so.
You're the man. Go ahead and cross everybody out, too, as we take a look at our updated
don't know how to do that.
It's bro. Go ahead and it's the you see the italic button and the font button up there. Go ahead and hit strike through. That's like the S with the line.
It's
through
really
it.
like one of the new editions.
No, to the right. Right there. Yeah, that's the button. Tino, is there any way Kinlaw falls to this pick here at 19?
Absolutely no chance.
I don't think so.
So I had him. He was actually like I said, my second choice for Jacksonville at 10. So. Brown dropping kind of threw that whole thing off, but I don't think he gets past the top 10. No way.
No, I don't either. I don't think there's any way either. We move on. 20th pick, and it's Tino Vergiels again. Number 20.
Hey, that's me. So, first pick, again, like I said, I really was hoping Chasen dropped this fall. And I guess there's really kind of no chance.
Right.
So, let me kind of look through who's left here. All right. So we're going to go for the Jacksonville Jaguars because I guess a lot of go back and forth. Because we were able to steal Derek Brown earlier, we are going to go cornerback out of Utah, Jalen Johnson.
Wow.
And at this point, again, they got to rebuild that defense. I mean, the offense is what it is at this point. They'll do that through the draft, through free agency. But really, this way they got to the AFC Championship in 2017 was through the defense. So losing their 2 corners, losing a couple D tackles who's on that team, you got to rebuild from that end, and that's who they're going to pick.
if I had that pick and we were doing trades and this was realistic, I would try to finesse the Patriots so bad for Herbert right now.
Bro. This man just took Jalen Johnson.
I know. I'm kind of – I don't –
I like Jalen Johnson's tape. I'm not going to lie. I do like Jalen Johnson's tape. Jalen Johnson could be a stud in the NFL, but he really hates Justin Herbert, bro. How is Justin Herbert fallen this far?
He's not good. He's not
good. Dude, tell me why you think he's not good.
I'm sorry. I just fucking hate the dude. I don't think his skill set playing in that Pac-12 translates to NFL. I'm sorry, I don't. I mean, it's been proven now time and time again from all the USC QBs who have continuously failed to the 3 or 4 Oregon QBs who have failed to Alex Smith out in Utah, who I know wasn't Pac-12 at the time. But again, that West Coast style, it doesn't work. Flat out doesn't work. And he'll continue to prove it, and people will fall for it again like, oh, he was great in college, and he'll continue coming to NFL, and he will fail again.
I don't agree. However, we move on.
Is what it is, huh?
Mr. Eli Milligan is on the clock. The Philadelphia Eagles select 2, my man.
It's not the pick they want, but it's the one they got. With the 3 wide receivers coming off the board this early, I honestly do think they move up in the actual draft. I think they're forced to take Justin Jefferson out of LSU. They need a wide receiver. It's just plain cut and simple. And if they don't take one, then they're going to have a hard time.
I agree with you. Did you know that no wide receiver on this offense caught for more than 500 yards last year? I mean, no wide receiver. They had Greg Ward Jr. playing wide receiver. Just let that sink in, dude.
And Aguilar.
Oh, Aguilar's gone.
Yeah, I know.
It's unbelievable.
He's not good.
You think he's not good? Just
I don't think he's
straight up not good.
I don't think he's good at football. I think he's.
You don't think he's good at football?
Yeah, I just think he's playing the wrong sport.
She bowling.
No, he needs to play like Quidditch or something.
Quidditch.
Dude, I don't pick against the last pick. It's gonna piss me off when I was doing it.
Dude, can you believe that it's been, let's see, bro, it's been 12 picks since this man right here has been on the clock. Mr. Corey Paul is back on the clock here at number 22. The Minnesota Vikings.
A lot of the picks I had for the Vikings are gone now. And
dude, wide receiver or
but
corner.
I'm thinking Yetur Gross-Matos, man. I think I said
Yetur Gross-Matos.
Yetur Gross-Matos.
Yetur Gross-Matos. That is not how you say this man's name. How you say his name is Yetur Gross-Matos.
I was close. He killed it at Penn State last year, so. And I'm pretty sure in real life the Vikings are looking at him hard. So
I think
he's on one of the top of their draft boards.
Well, you just fucked up my draft board.
Really, Eli? How does this pick shake things up?
Well, I had him going so I've seen a lot of mocks with the Dolphins taking a running back in the first, and I just don't think they do so, especially with a late first. I thought the Dolphins were going to take Gross at 26, given they could have took a lineman at 18, but the way things have shaped out in this draft, they couldn't take either McKinney, a lineman. So I think they have to go that direction, right. And it would have taken him at 26, but such is life.
I don't know about this pick, man. I must say, Eli, you almost got it in our little tracker.
Oh shit!
No, you're good. Because you're up next, my man.
As a huge need, to be honest. I disagree with the pick.
Tell us why.
I foresee a lot of boos coming out of there. I mean, they're better, to be honest, they're better off on stretching, taking a little stretch pick on, Arnett, Diggs, Terrell.
Braun.
Somebody that's anybody that's going to come in handy right there. I mean, like I said, edge rushers, probably the least of their needs, to be quite frankly.
Yeah.
I disagree.
I
disagree.
I don't like the pick either. I really don't.
You're not going to like my next pick either.
Then go ahead. Take
Might
things
not
away.
contribute. I'm not going to say it. I'm going to write it down.
You're gonna write it down.
I think I'm reading that shit.
I'm looking at it.
Jordan Love. I fucking love that pick.
I can't believe he goes before Herbert.
I absolutely love Jordan Love's tape.
Now, hold up.
Baker sent me his tape. Like he was telling me how high he was. I watched it and I was like, this guy's good. He's got kind of like that like fuck you in him, and I think like I love seeing that.
He's got a little bit of Manziel in him.
Yeah.
And I fucking love it.
Let's see how that Manziel turned out, though.
No,
To be
dude,
honest,
let's
Manziel
get
was a
something
fucking
straight.
dog. Hold on, pause. Manziel was a dog. He just didn't have enough time.
He was just so. I mean, he was.
No, let's stop.
He was an
entitled rich kid who couldn't handle it.
Yeah, that's it.
No,
But skill
let's
wise,
stop.
he was top notch.
Skill wise, he was good, but let's go ahead and get something straight here, gentlemen. Johnny Manziel had limitations in this league, and Johnny Manziel did not have the ability that could bail him out, nor the supporting cast that could bail him out.
He also hit women, so there's that.
Yeah, he hit women. He snorted coke. He showed up to practice on coke, literally all the time.
A little cokehead. He had his issues.
cokehead.
A little cokehead. I mean, but football skill wise, he could get it done.
He had the
Unbelievable.
affluence. He caught the affluence.
Unbelievable. And now that you guys literally leave me no choice, I cannot believe the fact that this selection has to be made at this late in the draft. Now, the only way there could be on God's green earth a way that this happens is if literally everyone hates the 2019 tape so much. But however, I want to bring something up before I move on to the next pick, which is the 24th overall, or the 24th overall pick for the New Orleans Saints, which I have control over, and I think I've made it obvious to this point who I'm going to take. With the 24th pick, Eli, what tape did I send you? Did I send you the 2018 tape or last year's tape?
It was the 2018 tape.
The 2018 Jordan Love tape is ridiculous. Now, the tape this past year was not great, and he was not surrounded by what you would consider the best of the best that he played with in college. Now, Matt Wells took the job at Texas Tech right before Jordan Love began his penultimate year in college, and thus now his entire coaching staff leaves. Literally 5 wide receivers graduated. 5 of them. It's not a recipe for success. And 32 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. I believe his junior year turns into, I think, like 17 and 16. He was very close to the cut line.
I mean, I just don't know if he's playing with anybody more talented than what he had this year with the Patriots. But
well, no, obviously not. Obviously not. And
see, now,
we move on.
Jordan Love reminds me a lot, just speaking strategically of his college years, reminds me a lot of Carson Wentz. And how his skill, again, it was same with Carson. If you remember, his junior year was supremely better, or I think it's sophomore, but his second to last year was supremely better than his last year. But people kind of saw through it. They understood, like, okay, a lot of people left, coaching staff changed, shit like that happened, where his skill is still his skill. Boy's still a dog. You just got to kind of fight through your limitations that you have in college.
Right. And the limitations that at least the quarterback that's coming off the board next had in college could be very obviously seen. However, Mr. Herbert goes off the board here at 24. I cannot believe Justin Herbert fell this far, and I shame multiple of you for allowing this to happen. Justin Herbert might have the highest ceiling of any quarterback in this draft, in my humble opinion. And
Over
as we
Burrow?
move to the Tino face, there's
Over
the Tino
Burrow?
face.
I'm with Tino on this one.
Yes,
Over Burrow?
dude. Yeah,
Herbert
over
better than
Justin Burrow. Over Justin Burrow.
I mean,
Or
I'm
Joe
gonna be honest,
Joe Burrow. Oh my God, Justin
I'm
Herbert, Joe Burrow.
I'm taking Fromm over Herbert.
He just gives me
I
like
would not
Ryan
take
Mallett
Brown.
vibes, dude.
You guys really hate Herbert.
He gives me Ryan Mallett like just straight like really good in college, big arm, couldn't hit the side of a barn.
Dude, if the Patriots or
I'm taking
not the
both
Patriots.
their. I'm sorry. I don't like the pick. I don't like the pick. I don't like
I
it.
feel like if he fell this far, they could have no more picks and just win the draft by themselves.
Yeah, big that haircut.
That's crazy that it fell that far. But
The what?
none of my teams really needed quarterbacks.
That haircut makes you look like an alt-right troll.
Fuck you,
need to buy a
dude.
wig or something.
I did not make that. Yeah, dude, I did not get this haircut by choice.
How's your phone doing?
Bro, my
Mine?
phone is still not working. I have an iPad.
I like it.
My phone is still not working. See, like, look at the picks that we've been moving around. 24. And now we move on to 25. Who's on the clock at 25? I don't know why that's not working. Oh, it's Corey. The Minnesota Vikings are on the clock.
I'm gonna need your help. We were talking about this. Noah from Auburn.
The pick. No. Is that the pick you're making?
Eugene, whatever.
Noah Igbenogany.
Igbinoghene. Yeah, he's gonna go.
I'm gonna have to
I'm not
copy and
right
paste that one.
I'm not writing that name down.
That's a hard
Hold
one.
on.
But the Vikings literally just ditched every single corner they had. So their
Hold
top 3 corners are gone. They need somebody to replace it.
Where is he?
That's
He's not even in.
where I'm
He's not even in Fox's top 50. What?
I'll show you. I'll show you how to pronounce his name. Or how to spell his name, Eli.
We were talking about this
Igbinoghene.
before.
Igbinoghene. I think this is a reach, in my opinion.
Like this.
You don't
I
like
think
it?
this is kind of a reach. I think it's kind of a reach. I like Jeff Gladney a lot. Jeff Gladney is a defensive back that I think is very underrated in this game. I don't think any of you probably watched this game, but Oklahoma played TCU, and I was there earlier this year. Yeah, no way any Big Ten or, ass scratchers watch that game.
I mean, I watch a lot of Oklahoma games just because obviously I like good football. But
Dude,
no, watch it.
AJ Terrell.
so Gladney was suspended for the first half, all right? Gladney was suspended for the first half, and in the second half, he came out, and the game was a completely different game. Jalen was almost shut down throwing to his side of the field. Gladney would be my pick. Corey, are you there? Can you hear me? This is what we see from Corey right now.
What up? I'm here.
Corey,
I said I'm here.
why is Igbinoghene the pick?
Dude, there's so many other corners.
AJ
There's a lot of
Terrell.
corners. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like he showed out last season, and I think
He
did
played
a good
really
job
well last
breaking-
season. He played really well last season on a defense that was very talented. And what do they say, bro? They say solid pass rushing, solid
I would say
attack
if you
at
have
the
Brown coming through the middle and
Marlon Davidson.
If you only have 3 seconds to throw it, your defense looks a little bit better.
You're right.
I mean,
Eli, you got these picks?
Yeah, I got it.
Oh,
I
okay.
have surprise picks on every single draft. Though.
Well, Miami's about to get a
I've been
steal.
reaching
so-
on. I've been reaching in the
Ooh.
last 2, but
oh, a steal, hey?
A steal at 26?
Yep.
Who is the Miami Dolphins selection at 26, Eli?
Edge rusher out of Iowa, AJ Espinza.
Oh, ho, ho, ho.
He's
I'm
a
glad
dog.
you bring up this guy.
He is a dog. Like I kind of want.
Some people love Epinez's tape.
I really
Some
wanted
people
to
really
go
love it.
Terrell, just because like
If you need the edge, yes, that's where you want to go at this late.
they don't need it, but they just up so much on defense that the amount of help and vets he's going to have around him is going to be massive for development. And we're also talking about it's going to be a defensive-minded team without a doubt. So, given that, I think I was thinking, all right, Terrell, you just went safety, to load up in the the backfield that much when you can go ahead and grab someone for the front 7. I think it's the move.
Right. No, it very well could be. And Epinesa is a guy that I consider underrated without a doubt.
No shot they take. What's his name, Brian? DeAndre Swift.
Corey, you and I have been talking about Epinesa for a long time. What do you think about Epinesa's ceiling in this league?
I love Epinesa or Epinenza or whatever. I love him. Me and you have played a lot of Madden, and I know that doesn't correlate to actual drafts, but
Right.
I always pick him up because I love him. I think he's going to be talented. I think he has a high ceiling, especially for falling so far in the first round. I think he's a steal at this point.
Absolutely is, in my opinion. And we go straight back to the man who just made the last comment. Maybe not the last selection. However, before we go ahead and announce the next selection, I'll go ahead and drop a little nugget of wisdom. Tino, before you got in here, I threw out a stat that's crazy. And only team since 2013 to either completely trade out of the first round or trade back in the first round every single draft since 2013, 13, 14, 15, all the way to now, the Seattle Seahawks. And they're on the clock at number 27. And I think that is an absurd stat. You could probably see them doing it. It is interesting, and especially with how many studs they've gotten. They traded back into the spot they got Metcalf.
Especially with how bad their own line has been. I mean, you can't pick one. You can't pick one.
No, totally. And Ezra Cleveland
out of those picks.
Ezra Cleveland is a guy I like, but I mean, there's the next offensive tackle off the board. I think for me is obvious, but I don't think the Seahawks go tackle here. Corey Paul is here to tell us who the Seahawks take at number 27. Even though I think we all know they're not going to be here a week from tonight.
You might disagree with me again. I'm struggling to keep up because I can't see the fucking chart. I'm sorry, I said but I can't see the chart, so I'm writing it down. Is my boy, I'm sorry, Isaiah Wilson off the board from Georgia?
I don't think so.
Bro, it's got to be Josh Jones from Houston.
No.
What?
No. Isaiah Wilson. I had him down. Isaiah Wilson's my boy.
The offensive lineman out of Georgia.
Jackson was what I was going for. But
the bunny.
Now, did I miss it? Is Austin Jackson already gone or what?
No, please don't tell me Austin Jackson is an option in this round.
Not going there.
And plus, like, why would they not go? Oh, we welcome Tino. We welcome Tino's wife Morgan Ursig to the party.
Shout out,
dude.
Yeah, I mean, that's who I'm going with. You disagreed with my later picks, but
yeah, I disagree, and you're back on the clock already, Corey. So maybe there's more for us to disagree about. With the 28th pick in the draft, it's the Baltimore Ravens on the clock, who are definitely primed to make a Super Bowl run. Corey Davis, who are you going with 28 for the Baltimore Ravens?
Let's see if you disagree with me again. Zach Bond from Wisconsin.
That's what I
love this pick. I love this pick. I love this pick way more than the last pick.
Linebackers, and I think he's a good fit to replace some of that. So,
what do you think about this pick?
Look at you making good picks nowadays. Proud of you. Proud of your growth and development. Yeah, it's a great pick.
It's hard to judge.
This is a great pick
because they're either stars or they fail, and it's just
There's
a couple that I like, and I went with them. So, but
with the 29th selection,
picks, but Bond's my dude for this team.
To be honest, these last five picks, I don't think any of these teams make these picks. I think they're all wrong.
I disagree.
I think Bond will fall this far.
No. I mean these teams themselves. Like I think these teams are all gone.
Oh yeah.
With the 29th pick in the draft, this is an interesting conundrum as well. It is the Tennessee Titans, who I have control over, and the Tennessee Titans here could go a lot of ways. However, I think the way that they're going to go at this particular juncture has to do with the fact. Now, I know I just hyped up Jeff Gladney a whole lot, but I think there is a guy they like more. And that guy becomes what? I don't know, 1, 2, 3. I think the 4th Alabama Crimson Tide player off the board. It's Trayvon Diggs, the brother of wide receiver Stephon Diggs. And Adoree Jackson has come along. Yep, Tino, go ahead and continue that. Yep, there we go. That's what I like for my selection. Trayvon Diggs is the guy here. And at 29, if you can get Diggs here, maybe you might be reaching just a tad. But Tino, go ahead and tell me why you agree with me in such a body language manner.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, he probably should go a couple picks earlier where, Seattle's reaching for Wilson. That's where I would choose. But, I mean, dude's a freak. He covered a lot of holes, especially we talked about earlier with Auburn, how their front seven kind of helps their corners. Bama was devastated up front, and their corners kind of did all their dirty work. So, and their safety as well. So, I mean, he had a fantastic year. Obviously, Bama didn't have the year they wanted, but he's a player who can make a difference.
We're going to run through these last 3 picks as quickly as we probably can because we've been here an hour 15. Corey is on the clock with pick number 30. It's the Green Bay. Yeah, it's my bedtime. That's exactly what I'm saying. Corey's on the clock here.
So I'm going to pick offense, but I have a question. On defense, Delpit's still on the board, right?
Yeah, please tell me. We talked about who they're taking earlier.
Delpit, but it's crazy he's went this far. I'm taking Brandon Ayuk from Arizona State. But I think it's crazy Delpit went this far. I think Green Bay needs a wide receiver to complement them. Aaron Rodgers needs some more weapons, especially because I feel like he doesn't have that much other than Devontae Parker. So, or not Devontae Parker, Devontae Adams. But
good God, not Parker.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think they're looking at another wide receiver. If for some reason some talent on defense like that fell this far, I think they might skip out. But I don't know. I'm going Brandon Ayuk from Arizona State.
With the 31st pick,
Sucks you couldn't
we
get
move on
Jake
to
here.
myself. And the 31st pick right here.
Not 13.
No, it is not 13. Typing it in. 31. It's AJ Terrell, the corner out of Clemson.
He fell.
He did fall a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, to be honest with you, it could end up being somebody else here. But for the sake of argument, we'll go ahead and go 31. With the 32nd pick, it is Tino Vergiels for the Kansas City Chiefs.
See, and to me, the same thing with that. If Delpit's here, it's really hard not to pick him, to be honest, as the Chiefs. It's hard for me to not pick DeAndre Swift as well, with him still being around.
Who are you taking then?
To me, they need two things mostly. It's going to be either corner or O-line. And my two picks would be either Arnett or Ruiz. I'm going to pick a Michigan player every time, so I'm going to pick Ruiz. And that's
Hell yeah.
that's a selfish-ass pick. But I'm going to pick Cesar Ruiz. I mean, he's a center, but really he can play either of those guard spots. So interior O-line being one of their biggest picks, I'm going to go there. And you got to get
Or Z.
gotta get
protect
one player on
Mahomes,
the board. Yeah.
And I like this pick a lot, especially when you pair a young –
Yeah, go ahead.
especially when you pair a young developing center with a quarterback he can be for a long time. I think we all know Mahomes is not going anywhere anytime soon. So I like this pick a lot at 32. Gentlemen, this has been a pleasure.
Before we end, I want to say something crazy.
Go ahead, my
We
man.
didn't draft one running back in the first round.
And I think that's how it's going to shape out.
I had
I
the
really
chance.
do.
Yeah. I was just saying, we didn't draft one of them. I thought that was kind of crazy. But
Now,
Yeah.
it would be fun to do the second round because I think second round can go so many different ways.
You got Alabama wins the draft with 6.
Yep.
LSU in second with 5. 2 out of Ohio State. Auburn gets 2. What do you for Clemson? Clemson gets 2.
what about LSU?
LSU got 5.
Gotcha.
And that looks like those are the winners right there. Iowa
Ohio
got
State only had 2 players taken, bro. It was only Young and Okuda.
Iowa
he's
got
at 2.
2.
Could have made it 3 with Ohio State, but like I said, I had to get one Michigan player on the board.
And looks
Ohio
like
State sucks.
Sure that.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have wrapped up the 32 picks in this draft. And now, for everybody else here with me, anybody have any parting words? Doesn't sound like it.
Broncos won Super Bowl. Not mine. Ain't that right, Baker? Not mine.
I don't know, man. I'm going to be posting each of our individual picks and see what everybody thinks as far as we go along. But for the rest of my Conrads and I, this is the Bottom Line Podcast, and we hope to see you guys soon. And on the next broadcast, as I've given everything a facelift. So long. Final draft. We'll see you next time.